Hello everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Spot for all things art. I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some simple art projects. Today we're going to paint this really fun, I already have it traced on here, snowman, and this really fun snow-covered Christmas tree. So let me turn you guys around and we will get started. So I'm going to put out a little bit of light blue. I have my other colors out here already because I was working on a different painting before, so I'm going to get a plate. Actually, no, I'm going to put it on here. This way I taking up less room. And put my blue right here. Okay. I have a paintbrush. I have about a 1-inch flat. Now, you could paint your entire canvas light blue first, then trace on your design or hand draw, that's a word, right? Yeah, on your design after, or you can go around it like I'm gonna do. I'm not concerned about getting the light blue where I have white because I'm going to highlight some of my white snowman and my snow with the light blue, and my light blue will be covered up by my green. So it would be really quick if I just covered this whole thing, but I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm even showing you guys it's not that important to be perfect. Okay. So I'm just going in and I'm painting in. I'm getting as close as I can to the elements, and I'm painting the edges as well. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll do my edges fun with a design with dots and dashes. Sometimes I'll do my edges wrapped around. My edges follow the same color scheme, so whatever I paint on the side, like the tree, it's green, I carry it over to the side, and then that area is green. Sometimes I just leave the edges white, and I just take my paint to the edge of the canvas. Totally up to you, and it doesn't matter. And again, it's not going to matter if we get some blue onto our snowman, because we're going to go in and we're going to add some blue to our snowman to kind of spruce up the white a little bit. Okay, so I could get out a smaller brush if I wanted to. I'm just carefully going around my birds, my snowman, but again, there's nothing perfect about this. And we have more to do on our blue background, so it's not just going to be this one solid blue coat. If you have a stencil, a snowflake stencil, that would be great. If you don't, I'm going to show you how you can make the background look snowy or add some little hand painted simple abstract snowflakes to your art. Again, if you need a smaller brush for this, grab a smaller brush. And this does not have to be perfect. You do not have to be exact. We try to be neat, but we do not have to be exact. Once the paint dries, we can fix anything. I might even pick up a little bit of white and add it to my background a little bit. Make it look a little blustery back there. Now, this is a great painting. It is kid friendly. The elements are rather large, so it's a really good painting for kids or seniors. Nice big brush, nice big elements. And again, painting is not about necessarily the finished product or the end result. A lot of times it's just about the experience. So if you have some art supplies, an art kit from me, Teresa's Spot for Art, and you want to get together either on Zoom or in person with family and friends, these projects are all about the experience too, and creating an experience and having some time together and just creating. It's not necessarily creating a masterpiece for the Smithsonian, but just having some family time, some friend time, some downtime. I will still be able to see where the snowman's arm is, and if I can't exactly see where it is, I'll just make it up. And it'll be fine. It's art. It does not have to be perfect. Okay, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to dip in a little bit in my white. And I just want to lighten up. I need some more white. I'm just going to make it look a little blustery. Like I said, we're going to add snowflakes and whatnot. But I just want to break up this blue a little bit in here by blending in a little bit of white. I'm dipping the very edge of my brush into the blue. And I'm just coming in here and I'm just kind of messing it up a little bit. Just adding in some white, blending in some white. I just don't want the background to be completely monotone. Okay? And you could do as much or as little of that as you want. Okay. So now I'm going to wash my brush. Give it a nice squeeze to dry it off. And I'm going to go right into my white. And I'm going to paint down here for the snow. Can you see that? Yeah. Under the presents. And this is just the bottom of our snowy base. And I painted the bottom of my canvas here. So I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to wrap around the snowy bottom. Acrylic paint tends to dry pretty quick, and my blue down here is already dry. Okay? And then I'm going to go back into the fresh white, and I'm going to start base coating in my snowman. Now, I know where the snowman is white, and it's meeting the bottom white, but I want my brush strokes on my snowman to be round, and the brush strokes on my snow down here to be horizontal. So I just didn't paint it as one big part. I painted it separate. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to paint the middle circle of my snowman. And again, when I paint my snowman, because it's round, I want my brush strokes to go in a circle. Put out there a little bit. There, so we got our background base coated in. We got our snowman base coated in. And the bottom of our snow ground base coated in. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this blue, just a little bit, on the corner of my brush, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to add a little bit of this blue into the one side of my snowman. So I'm making like a C stroke, and I'm just adding a little bit of blue shadow in here. I don't know if you can see that, because I want to be able to tell where my background is and where my snowman is, and I want my snowman to have a little bit of shadow on this side, and I'm doing that with the blue. I'm going to add a little bit over here too. And all I do is put the little bit of corner in my blue, and then put that part of the brush to the outside, and then I have some nice shading. And I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Again, I'm using a flat brush, but I'm going to switch to a little bit of a smaller one. Dry it off and go in here to my brown, and I'm going to start adding in the little segments of my tree trunk. So this is just a real fun, whimsy kind of Christmas tree. Unlike most tree trunks, it is wider on the bottom and gets a little bit more narrow up top. Now these don't have to be perfect. I know I say that all the time. Does not have to be perfect, because when we paint in our green, a lot of that's going to get covered up. Okay, I have 2 greens on my plate already. I have dark Hauser, light Hauser, and now I'm going to add in some festive green to that. You can use a small flat for this. You can use a round brush for this, whatever you're comfortable with. And I'm going to start up top. I'm going to pick up both of my darker greens. So I'm going to pick up the Hauser Dark and then this festive green. And I'm going to fill in the shapes of my tree. And again, I'm going to go back in. I'm going to dip into both. And I'm going to fill in these shapes. I guess they're little triangles or whatever. Dark, festive, and just keep filling in here. Now part of that one is going to be white, but we can wait until it dries and just go right over it with the fresh white. Or you can skip the top parts where it's supposed to be the snow. Totally up to you. We just want to make sure our bottom is uneven and we're picking up both colors of paint at the same time. We want a variety of greens in here. And it doesn't really matter how you trace this or hand drew this on. When you paint it, just make sure you make the line on the bottom very uneven and wavy. I like to see texture in here. We don't want it, we can see brush strokes. There's sometimes where the paint is thicker, sometimes where the paint is thinner, and we want to see all that. Again, this is only the first step in this part of the trees, so don't get too hung up on the details because we're not even to the details yet. And this part should go pretty quick. Again, I'm just picking up both colors of the dark green and blobbing it in here. Little short strokes. I want my paint to be a little bit textured, and I'm just filling this in. Okay. And then down to the last section. The only thing you want to worry about, you don't want your lines, either on the tops or the bottoms, to be too straight. As if, like, we're so good at drawing straight lines all by ourselves without a ruler anyway, right? So don't forget, so this is recorded here. You have access to this recording. If you need to stop, take a break, come back, want to paint it again, you can just hit the pause and then you can come back and repaint it whenever you want. As always, my designs are for personal use only, not for a business or for a paint party. Okay, now I'm going to go and pick up some of this light green and I'm just going to start adding in some highlights. You want it to mix. It's mixing, the paint is still a little wet, and I'm going to have a variety now in here of different greens. The first 2 greens and the 3rd green that I'm adding, it's all just making in some really nice shades. It's blending. I'm going to go back into my festive green because I like it. If you want yours to be darker, you can pick up some more of your dark Hauser. And I'm having a variety of greens in here now. Again, I want my tree to be textured So these are little strokes and pounces that not necessarily nice smooth brush strokes. And as I add in this new green, I'm spreading out what was in there. Go back to my festive, and I'm getting much better coverage, but I still have some nice texture in here. This is really random, and you can make it what you want it to be. If you want it darker, lighter, brighter, totally up to you. I want my shading over here, so I'm going back in and adding a little bit more of the dark green over here to shade up this side. I'm going to do that down here too. And when you paint wet on wet, you get such a beautiful variety of colors as they all blend together. And this is just random. Random. Picking up my festive green here, mixing it with my Hauser light, and random. Now, probably you can see I got some green dots on my snowman. I can fix that. So I'm going to clean my brush really good. I'm going to put it in the water. I'm going to wet the dots where I don't want them. I'm going to get a clean towel or whatever I have, paper towel, whatever I have, and I'm going to sop it up. And where my green dots got on my art, because I was careless, they're gone. Voila. Okay, now I'm going to go to my liner brush and back to my brown. When you use your liner brush, you want to twirl it between your thumb and your pointer. You want to have a nice point on your liner brush, and you use it almost like a pencil. Okay? So, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do that one stroke for the branch, pick up some more, and then do this second stroke for the branch. Okay? And then we have little branches sticking off. Okay? Then I'm going to come over here. That one goes off. And then this one, I'm trying to look, comes down here. And again, we want to have a few little branches coming off. Okay? I'm going to pick up a little bit of black on this same brush, and I just want to come in here, I just want to add a little black under here, add some shading. Okay. And again out here, it's a little bit of black right along the back of the stick for some shading. Okay. I'm going to use my end of my brush with my black paint, and I'm going to do these little ovals for his buttons. Okay. I'm going to use the black of the brush, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to add his smile. Now when I do the smile, I go from the outer edges to the inside, because as you use the paint up on the tip of the brush, your dots get smaller. I want them larger at the outside and smaller at the inside. Okay. I'm going to put in the eyes. Okay. And then I forgot I need a tiny bit of orange. There we go. Tiny, tiny bit of orange for his nose. Okay, I'm gonna get my liner brush. I'm going to load it with the orange paint. I'm going to lay it down flat with some pressure, but as I swoosh up, I'm going to start picking it up so it gets narrower at the top and it tapers. Okay? All right, I'm going to go back to my smaller brush now and back to my black, and I'm going to start doing his hat. This is the fun part. Start adding in all the little details. Get this side to come out just a little bit more. There we go. And base coat it in his hat. There. Okay. Let that dry a little bit. I am going to, I think I'll grab some red and do his scarf now. So again, I'm using this about a 1/4 inch wide flat brush. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to wave it in. It does not have to be a straight line. I'm going to wave it in, and then I'm going to pick this up for that part of the scarf, and then I'm going to come down here to this part of the scarf. And again, when I do this, I start out with less pressure and then I add pressure, so at the end of the scarf it's wider than at the beginning. While I have the red on my brush, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start base coating in the packages. Now if you want to do your packages a different color, go right ahead. It's your art, your way. So if you don't want your packages red, you want them purple, yellow, green, whatever, totally up to you. I could paint right over the stripe in the middle that's going to be the ribbon. I'm choosing to skip it, but again, you can do what you choose to do. The one thing we want to be careful about, if you do your packages red, your paint really has to dry before you go back in it with the white for the ribbon and the bows. Otherwise you're going to end up with pink. It's the only time I'm really careful. Usually when you mix white, you just end up with a little bit of a different shade of the color, but you definitely get pink when you hit red with white or white with red. And if you don't want pink, your paint has to be dry. Okay, so I base coated in my packages there. And let's see, where are we? Give that a brush, give that a wash rather. Okay, I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna pick up a little bit of white and a little bit of red. I'm just gonna mix a tiny bit of pink, and then I'm gonna like scrub the tip of my brush on here to give him some rosy cheeks. You see that? Okay. I'm gonna go back to my liner brush again. I'm gonna start painting in my birds. So we have a bird on his hat, we have a bird over here on this branch, and we have a bird over here on this branch. So I'm gonna get my red. And look how these cute little birds just pop now, right? Adorable. One on his hat. And this one. And then this one here. And you can put more if you want. Totally up to you. Just gonna fill them in a little bit. So cute. There we go. Give that a wash and a rinse. Okay, gonna grab a tiny little bit of black paint and I'm gonna start giving my bird some feet. Okay, giving my bird beak. And I'm just tapping in my liner brush. I made it a little bit flat and I'm just tapping it in and making a little bit of a triangle. And then tiny bit, picking up a little bit on the corner, and I'm adding an eye. There we go. You can add a little bit of shading under here if you want. Up to you. Sometimes black can be a very strong color and we add a little bit too much. So if you don't want to add in any shading down here, it is totally up to you. I'm mixing it with a little bit of my wet red that was already in there and putting that in there. Okay. All right. Now that my red is dry over here, I'm going to stick with my liner brush and I want to add some stripes to my scarf. I'm going to fill in my bows. And this is another good reason why you have a little bit of blue in your snowman, because when you fill in your bows here, you can, and you have this nice fresh white, you can see the difference in the bow and the snowman's body. Snowman's body has a little tint of blue to it around the edges. And so this fresh white bow really pops. And since my red is dry, see how nicely my, oh, spoke too quick. My white goes right over my red. Can cover it up too. There's a little spot down there that was still a little wet. There we go. I want to add some little tailies to the end of my scarf. I'm going to pick up some red paint and I'm just going to gently stroke in a few little thin lines, light touch, hardly any pressure, to the end of my scarf. There we go. Flapping in the breeze. Now I think no, not quite. I'm gonna grab my dryer. I'm gonna dry my trees a little bit so I can get onto the snow. Okay. Now when we do the snow, I'm gonna get my little brush. We want our snow to look a little textured. Now you could go in here, you can get what's called Snow Tex, or you can use the paint like I'm going to show you. Totally up to you. Snow Tex is like a plaster textured white paint. It's water based, but it helps you get a really nice, I'm trying to get the paint out of there, it's not gonna work, a really nice faux snow finish on your artwork. You can actually even mix your own with some sand if you wanted to, but I'm just coming in here and I'm using my brush standing up, and I'm just tapping in. I want to go over the bottom of my gifts. You want this line to be very uneven. You want some texture down here. You want the paint to look a little thick. You can do this with glitter paint if you want. Totally up to you. But I'm just pouncing. You don't want to use a really, really good brush for this because you're going to, like, you know, kind of mess it up. This is not one of my better brushes. But if you do have a really good brush, you're going to want to put that aside and grab a little bit of a different brush. Because it's not good to always be squashing a brush like this. Okay, so I did all that snow on the bottom. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the same thing up top. Now if you were able to salvage your lines when we painted, or actually when we drew in our tree, then you want to put your snow there. If not, it does not have to be exactly where it was. You just want it heavier in some spots, lighter in some spots. And again, I'm tapping. You want what's going over the green to be uneven. You don't want a straight line. And you want it thicker in some spots and thinner in some spots. And you can add as much or as little as you want. I just keep going back for more paint and dabbing it in here. If your green happens to be wet and you pick a little bit of green up, just go back and wipe off your brush and start again. And this is just random, like I said, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where the snow was originally. If you want to do it exactly like the sample, that's fine too. But you don't have to. You just want it random and at different heights and thicknesses. Okay? Now I'm going to add some ornaments to the tree, and I'm going to do that with the back of my brush as well. Your ornaments can be different colors. You can skip the ornaments, up to you. So I'm going to use the back of my brush, and he's going to have a few ornaments. So he has one hanging here, one down here, and then we're going to start adding some to the trees. You get a much nicer, uniform, round ornament when you draw with the back of your brush instead of trying to use the tip of your brush. Again, you just want to be, oop, got my white paint. Just want to be careful of your white. You don't want to end up with pink snow. And they say in the art and design world that odd numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Odd numbers are more pleasing to the eye. Okay. Right, back to my liner brush. Actually, this guy up here, I think he's holding an ornament. This one's holding an ornament too, but I'm not going to worry about that one because my white paint is still a little wet. But he's holding an ornament, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put an ornament in there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my black. And now we want to do these little hangers, and we want to attach our ornaments that are hanging to the birds and to the arms. Oh, there's a couple out here too. Let me add a little bit of arm here. Add a little bit of black underneath it. Grab the back of my brush, put an ornament there, and then come back again with my liner brush and just have it hanging from the tree. Again, I got a little bit of splash. I'm just going to pick up my white and cover these lines where I got some splash. Here I can do what I did before, wash it up a little bit. Oops, I just made that worse. And then get my towel, paper towel, whatever I have that's kind of clean, and come in here and wipe it all up. Also, I'm going to show you that when we do our snowflakes, if there's a spot that we want to cover up, something we don't like, something we're not happy with, we can put a snowflake there. Okay. All right. So while I have my white out, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to just add a little bit of white highlight to each of my ornaments. It helps if they're dry. Some of mine are still a little wet. Pick up some fresh white. And I'm just adding a little bit of white highlight there. And I want to add a little bit down the side of my tree trunk. Okay. I want to add some white to my hat. I think I'm going to add a red band to my hat so it matches its scarf. If you want to make your band green or blue, go right ahead. I'm making mine red. I'm adding a little bit of white highlight to my hat. Okay. And then last but not least, I'm going to show you how we do the snowflakes. So you can take the back of your brush, dip it in the white, and you can come in here and you can put snowflakes. The bigger the brush you use, the bigger your snowflakes. As you use them, after you put the paint on, the more dots you do, the smaller they get. The first one's always the biggest, and you can do that. Okay? You can, I'm going to turn this upside down. You can get your liner brush and you can draw a very abstract snowflake like this, wherein we draw an X, or depending on which way you're going, or then we draw a cross. And you can leave it like that, or you can come in here and put these little V's down each of them. And depending on how long your arms are, or your tails, or whatever you want to call them for your snowflake, is how many sets that you can fit. I'm doing 2 on each. You might be able to fit 3 on each. Okay? And then you can even take that one step further with the back of your brush and do dots on the ends of all of these. So totally up to you. Oh, that was it. And then, if you want, you can grab a stencil. If you have a stencil handy, I happen to have this one. I happen to have this one right here with a snowflake on it. And then you can grab a little stencil brush or a makeup sponge or whatever you have. Remember, when you're stenciling, the less paint is better. I always want to pounce off my stencil after I put my stencil brush after I put some paint on it, because the less paint you have, the better your chances are of not having bleeds. And I'm just going to pounce that in. And then I can take this same stencil and I can go around and I can add, pounce it off with my stencil, as many or as few snowflakes as I want. And there we go. Put that aside, put that in there. Turn you guys around. So there we have it. Look how fun. This little snowman. If you wanted to leave out the presents and the ornaments, it could be more of a winter scene than a Christmas scene. Totally up to you. Oh, I'm a mess. Your art, your way. Thank you for joining me from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I make a mess of myself when I paint. Love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.